Hey there! Since this is my first video on YouTube, I want to give you a short introduction to myself. Give you a heads up on what this channel is all about and what I'm planning with it. If you want to just listen to the story, hey, feel free to skip this part and start right with it. So, my name is Lou and I want to welcome you to my channel Calmly Read By, a channel where I'm turning your favorite RPG's side quests into relaxing audiobook experiences. Right now, I'm relying on AI tools to create these audiobooks. My goal, though, is to include real illustrators and voice narrators to bring your favorite quests to life. I really think we have something beautiful here that could withstand the AI mass production of story narrating videos if we are doing it right. Fully human-made, emotional, and real. Until then, because of my limited skill set, I have to rely on AI assisting me myself. Okay, enough of the introduction. Let me tell you a bit about today's story instead. Tonight's story takes us into the world of the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. A quiet journey into the halls of the Dark Brotherhood. A tale about a man who by accident ended in a world of bloodlust, rituals, but also a world of brotherhood and loyalty. Before we are starting though, I want to ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is where you are. I would love to know where these stories are stretching to across the world. Today's story is read by Grandpa Hugs. Thank you for listening. Here we go.
Silence After Blood, the first journey of a brother. From the sealed chronicles of the Black Hand, recorded in shadow, scribed in whispers. 17th of the first seed, in the 433rd year of the Third Era, Imperial City, province of Cyrodiil. And it came to pass in the waning days of the Third Era that a soul marked by death unknowingly took his first step into the void. His name was unspoken, his past irrelevant. What mattered was the act. A single murder, committed without command, but not without consequence. It is said that the dread Father Sithis watches always, and when a soul takes a life in cold blood, a whisper reaches the ears of the Black Hand. So it was that the speaker came. In the damp silence of an abandoned house in the Imperial City, Lucien Lachance emerged from the shadows. Clad in black leather, pale and still as a corpse, he stood like death incarnate. His voice, low and measured, filled the room like mist. You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good. You'll need a clear conscience for what I'm about to propose. Shock and confusion lingered in the face of the one newly marked. Though blood had already touched his hands, he was yet untouched by understanding. You prefer silence then? So do I, my dear child. For is silence not the symphony of death? The orchestration of Sithis himself? Anyway, we know what you have done tonight. A price in blood has been paid. And like many of those before him, the one soon to be called brother sought to retreat from the embrace of the void. He claimed the act had not been intended, that the killing had not been planned, and that the murder had been a mistake. But the Black Hand does not weigh spoken intent, only true intent lying deep beneath the surface. And because the Black Hand is reading deep, it was not the act itself. It was the moment the fire was building up deep beneath the surface, when our soon-to-be-called brother had already been chosen. A soul had been taken, a life ended in silence. The deed was whole, and in this the dread father was pleased. "Look at your hands," Lucien said in a calm manner, "covered in already dried blood. This was not a mistake. Do not push the dread father aside. There is no unmaking for what has been done." Then Lucien took of a glove and extended his hand. The stranger stopped breathing out of shock. Black, like coal. Not human anymore, but somehow demonic. "We are the Dark Brotherhood, the servants of the Night Mother, and you are a killer, a taker of life, a harvester of souls. Your work, your deathcraft, pleases the Dread Father, and that is why I stand here before you. I bear an offering, an opportunity to join our rather unique family. I know how you feel. You feel empty. Your soul lingers for purpose, your body for cause. Join us, and you will get all of that." Lucien spoke no more. What needed to be said had been said. "Now, sleep, my child," he whispered. "The Dread Father has chosen you. There's no way to escape your fate." The room darkened, though no light was lost. The marked one felt the pull of sleep, not like exhaustion, but like a hand gently placed upon his mind. He lay down once more, and he slept. What followed was not rest, it was vision. The marked one dreamed of fire and of blackness swallowing it whole, of figures without names, faces without eyes, of echoes he could not silence, and voices that were not his. And in the center, not a form, not a voice, but something vast, silent, burning. The Dread Father? Sithis? Whatever it was, it had a deeper meaning. When he awoke, the air was colder, the room darker, and a pact had been offered. Beside him upon worn stone lay a blade, not the one he had carried. This one was unfamiliar and unmistakable. Curved blackened steel, etched with markings only the faithful would know. A ceremonial dagger. Next to it, a scroll. The parchment was dry, brittle with age, sealed with wax bearing the sigil of the Black Hand. He opened it. One more life is what we need to see if you are truly dedicated to earn a cause, worthy of becoming family, worthy of fulfilling your fate. On the green road to the north of Braville lies the Inn of Ill Omen. There you will find Rufio. You know what to do, so do it, and your initiation into the Dark Brotherhood will be complete. The next time you sleep, I will come to you once more. And when the marked one had read the final line, the parchment began to blacken until nothing remained but ash. Now he sat in silence. No voice spoke, but words from the night before clung to him. Lucien. He was right. The marked one indeed had lost everything. His wife, his children, his cause, all taken. By time, by betrayal, by fate? Could this really be it? The thing he had been grasping for in empty nights? A cause not given, a family not made, but earned? He looked at the blade again. This was no ordinary dagger. It radiated something unnatural, dark. Its presence was unsettling, like standing too close to a silent storm. Frightening, heavy, and yet powerful. A tool meant to end. There was no oath, no prayer, only the sound of his own breath as he reached forward and took the dagger into his hand. The marked one stood, and when he stepped into the gray light of morning, the city no longer felt like home, only like something left behind. The journey southward took the better part of the day. No maps were needed. The scroll had burned, but the path was clear. He walked as if led not by feet, but by fate. And as the sun began to sink behind the hills of Cyrodiil, he saw it, a crooked sign, swinging in the breeze, weathered wood, carved letters. The Inn of Ill Omen. Our soon-to-be-called brother finally has arrived. The door creaked as he entered, not loud enough to disturb, yet sharp enough to mark his arrival. He paused within the threshold and took in the room, one detail at a time. Dust floated in shafts of amber light. The hearth offered flickering warmth, though it failed to dispel the stale air. Mead, old wood, and dried meat. No patrons in sight. How fortunate! Behind the counter stood a man with long, full hair and a face too kind for eyes so cold. Well, I'll be a spotted snow bear, a customer. I'm Mannheim Mallhand, owner of the Inn of Ill Omen. It's a horrible name for an inn, I know, but I just can't bring myself to change it. Besides, I like the sign. So spoke the keeper, unaware that chaos now entered his rather peaceful place. Hail! We got plenty of rooms if you want one. Ain't nobody staying here these days, except old Rufio. Hearing light words like his took the weight of the marked one's presence. He walked right towards the counter without a word. And there it was, the name, Rufio, spoken innocently, received like prophecy. The marked one stopped breathing for a second, a clear shift in mind, subtle, sure. But he could not ask for Rufio, not directly, not yet. To utter that name with intent would be to tip his hand, and the blade that reveals itself too early often draws its own blood. He was not yet in the shadows, not fully, and the man behind the counter, though genial, had the gaze of one who noticed details best left unseen. So he swallowed his thoughts, folded them into silence, and let his demeanor sink into the role of a weary traveler, a man with no burdens, no questions, and no cause but rest. So he requested lodging, nothing more. A bed? Well, of course. I've got a small room available right upstairs, first door on the left, only 10 gold. What do you say? I'll take it. All right then, Mannheim replied. You're all set. Remember, first door on your left. The marked one ascended. The wooden steps croaked beneath his boots. A corridor, narrow and dim, with 4 doors laid like silent witnesses. If what the innkeeper had said was true, Rufio must be in one of them. But which? No signs, no sounds, just aged wood and the weight of decision. The marked one stood still for a moment, letting his instincts breathe. He had walked war camps and palace halls alike, and yet this hallway, in all its simplicity, demanded more of him than usual. Each step forward had to be measured, for death, once invited, does not forgive haste. Second on the left, he approached. Ear to wood, he listened. A voice, feminine. Then, "Hey, what are you doing?" The voice cut the quiet like a blade. He turned swiftly. There stood Mannheim, bowl of water in hand, eyes narrowed. I said, "First door on the left. The one you're standing in front of is Minerva's room." The marked one inclined his head. "I'm sorry. I must have misheard. First door on the left, you said?" "Right." Mannheim watched him. Too long, then relented. "Well, yes. First door on the left. Here, a bowl of water. Clean yourself and the boots. The whole staircase full of mud." He looked down. His boots were thick with mud and wild grass, to the knee. "Where do you come from, anyway?" "Well, from the Imperial City. I started my journey this morning," he replied. "The Imperial City? You walked all the way here in a single day. By the gods, only a madman would do that, or a trained soldier." He narrowed his eyes, then added, "Well, as I said, go wash up. We'll have time to talk later. Dinner's nearly ready." With the bowl in hand, the marked one withdrew into the room. The door closed behind him with a muted thud. He scrubbed the mud away in silence. His mind, however, roared. Memories of the Legion, of banners red and gold, of steel and order. He had once knelt before the decree of Uriel Septim III, heir of the Wolf Queen, and borne command. Pride then, only ashes now. But the skills endured, and they would serve the family. In the left corner, a woman sat, dark skin, a red guard. Red guards are the dark-skinned, wiry-haired people of Hammerfell, often considered the most naturally gifted warrior race in Tamriel. Though the glow of those days had long left her, when he emerged, a scent hung thick in the air, buttery meat stew, hearth-baked bread, and sweetened wine. It curled through the rafters like incense, though the glow of those days had long left her. Opposite her, at a lone table, an older man hunched, cloaked in shadow. Rufio, the vessel, the marked one, chose the center table, placing his back to the wall, eyes scanning the corners. As soon as he sat, he heard the soft creak of worn boots on wood. The red guard approached, already smiling. "Hello, stranger. We don't get many visitors around here. Makes things pretty lonely for me, if you know what I mean." She laughed, too loud for the hush of the room. He looked up slowly, eyes resting on her face without expression, not angry, not amused, just measuring, like a man who'd forgotten how to respond to warmth. With no hesitation, she pulled out the chair across from him and sat without waiting for permission. "I'm Minerva," she said, leaning in slightly, her tone lighter now, but testing. "And you are?" He said nothing. She let the silence sit for a moment, then gave a shrug, half amusement, half resignation. "Not much of a talker, are you?" She glanced toward the bar where Mannheim struggled to carve hot bread. The only people who stay here are stragglers off the green road. Me? I've got nowhere else to be. A pause. Her voice softened. Besides, I think Monheim is sweet on me. Redguard, let that man rest, said Mannheim, arriving with 2 bowls of stew in his hand. Stranger, you look hungry and pale. Here, take this, eat, and you will feel better. He placed the bowl in front of him, a thick, hearty stew, steam rising into the cool air, carrying the kind of scent that made your stomach tighten. First came the butter, rich, slow melted, carrying notes of crushed juniper and roasted garlic. Then the rest, boiled potato, soft onion, and meat that had been cooking long enough to fall apart on its own. A spoonful of herb butter had been dropped on top just before serving. It was still melting, mixing with the broth and releasing the sharper scent of mountain thyme and a trace of dried snowberry leaf, something the cooks in the north liked to use when the nights got longer. Next to it, a hunk of bread, pulled fresh from the hearth, dark-crusted and still warm in the middle. Cast off your worries, now feast. And so he did. He took the wooden spoon and scooped up a thick, dark piece of meat. It melted the moment it touched his tongue. Buttery in texture, even more buttery in taste. Rich, savory, with a faint trace of smoke. And then it came, a subtle bitterness, hidden deep in the flavor, like old herbs or scorched wine. It struck the back of his tongue and cleared his thoughts like a cold wind through fog. That taste, not unpleasant but sharp, reminded him why he was here. He followed with a chunk of potato, soft to the bite. The flavor bloomed slowly. Cream, herbs, and a faint sweetness that clung to his teeth. A flavor that reminded him of home. How does a place like this serve food like that? He wondered. For a moment, the warmth in his belly made him forget the road, the ache, the weight of his journey. But the bitterness lingered, and with it, the hunger returned. Not for food, but for purpose. Minerva, he said slowly. Why is that man over there sitting alone? Who is he? Not a lot to tell. Rufio's his name. Doesn't much like company. Spends most of his time in his room. Mannheim thinks he's hiding out from someone. Mannheim sat down with a bowl of his own. Minerva is right. Rufio, he's an old codger. Been living here for a couple weeks now. If you ask me, he's hiding from something. But what do I care? He pays his tab. The trap now had a face, and in that instant, the air itself shifted. The warmth of the hearth receded, as though the flames knew what was to come. But enough about that, Mannheim said, leaning forward. What about you? Judging by the way you carry yourself, you were a soldier, or still are. He smirked. No? Let me guess. Kicked out of the Legion? He waved it off before you could answer. Don't worry. People like us don't judge people like you. The stranger didn't answer right away. He held Mannheim's gaze for a beat too long, then shrugged lightly. Long story. Doesn't matter much now. His voice was quiet, but not unsure. Not a man ashamed, just done explaining. Mannheim grinned as if he'd heard more than was said, then leaned back, satisfied. Okay, that was enough for now. After long hours filled with idle chatter and cups of sweetened wine that dulled the senses, Minerva rose, murmuring something half-hearted about sleep and disappeared into her room. Mannheim, meanwhile, busied himself outside the inn. There it was, a moment of pure silence. It was just him and his lamb. Rufio, in the corner, slumped forward at his table, let his chin rest upon his chest, the breath of alcohol thick about him. The marked one pushed back his chair and rose to his feet. Wood creaked beneath him. He reached for the blade at his side, adjusted it slightly. Then he walked, one step at a time. The floor groaned under his weight, each movement controlled. He passed the hearth, the warmth brushing his side and fading just as quickly. He kept going. Step, then another. He stopped. Rufio right before him, his hand now on the dagger. His fingers hovered over the dagger when the old wooden door let out a long, groaning creak. He stopped. That old codger fell asleep, huh? Mannheim's voice came suddenly close. Don't mind him. Happens every day when he drinks too much. Let him be, stranger. Once I'm done here, I'll wake him and send him off to bed. You go ahead and get some rest. The marked one inclined his head and obeyed, for now. The hours oozed by, thick as blood through a wound long forgotten. The hearth had burned low, its glow barely clinging to the stones. The scent of stew still lingered faintly. The inn had fallen into deep slumber. No wood creaking, only the faint scurry of mice weaving through dust-laced floorboards. It was the silence of endings. The marked one rose without a sound, movement smooth, deliberate. He stepped out of the safety of his room into the waiting dark. The corridor greeted him with 3 doors, behind one of which Rufio was laying, an unknown lamb before the slaughter. He passed Minerva's without a glance. Hers was just beside his, as he found out this afternoon. That left 2. He halted, listening. One door murmured with the slow rhythm of sleep, faint snoring behind thick timber. He eased the handle. The hinges groaned soft. In the room, long full hair under the blanket. That must be Mannheim. Wrong room. He stepped back, letting the door close with a muted click. Only one left. He crossed the wooden floor, each board holding its breath. This door resisted slightly. He pushed it open. Dust swirled in the stale air. The room was empty, long abandoned. He stood still, jaw tight. This was not what he expected, and when he closed the door in disbelief, the latch betrayed him, groaning like a wounded beast. Footsteps behind. The marked one froze, then turned, his breath caught in his throat. What are you doing? Mannheim's voice was thick with sleep. The marked one answered without hesitation. I thought I heard Rufio. He was so deep in his cups, I feared he might have fallen, or worse. That's kind of you, stranger, but Rufio's not up here. His room's beneath us, down in what I call the private quarters. You'd have to take the hatch by the stairs to reach it. Best not to wander tonight. Go on, get some rest. Mannheim yawned and turned away, vanishing into the hush of his quarters, unaware that fate stirred only paces behind. The marked one descended into the lower depths of the inn, a cramped passage beneath the hearth where stone met mildew and footsteps dared not echo. With each stair, the air cooled and settled into stillness. Stone walls closed in. clean but ancient, the passage lit only by a single flickering torch, bracketed on the left wall. At the base, a single door awaited. Thick wood, iron-hinged, worn smooth by time. He stood still, gaze narrowing, senses reaching outward. Then, breath. A human breath, threaded with snores from that door. He crept toward it, movement slow and silent, like ink bleeding into parchment. His fingers met the wood. The latch gave with only the faintest groan. Inside, a room left to rot. The air stank of sweat and sour wine. Furniture lay crooked, a basin overturned, and on the far side, Rufio. The man was sprawled in restless sleep, limbs slack, his mouth ajar. A bottle lay near one hand, the other twitching with dreams. The marked one stepped closer, and from his cloak drew the ceremonial dagger, not in anger, not in haste, but with the stillness of purpose. The tip of the blade pressed lightly at Rufio's throat, poised, not slashing, but ready to plunge, to end, to silence, and then doubt. His mouth dried, his pulse thundered in his ears like war drums echoing from another life. Questions surged, 1,000 of them, crashing like waves into the fragile moment. Who was Rufio? What had he done? And why had he, the marked one, not asked? You see, the marked one had once worn the armor of rank, saluted under banners woven in honor, not secrecy. A husband, a father, a man who believed in law, in justice. And yet, that man was Ash, or so he had told himself night after night. Now, with the blade poised at Rufio's throat ready to strike, the lie began to tremble. Lucien's words echoed in the stillness. You are a harvester of souls. Your work pleases the dread Father. They had brought comfort once, the promise of purpose, of family, and yet here and now they faltered. Endless thoughts clawed their way to the surface. The face of his wife, the laughter of his children, the weight of the Legion's oath, once spoken with pride before the throne of Uriel Septim himself. That light, dim and buried, still flickered somewhere inside, but so did the darkness. Had he come this far only to tremble? Was this mercy or cowardice? Could a man like him still doubt and yet serve? No voice answered, only the clash of two worlds, what he had been and what he was becoming. Rufio stirred. The marked one remained silent, the blade steady at the man's throat, but his eyes burned, not with anger, but judgment, as if weighing the soul before him. Rufio's eyes snapped open, panic first, then pleading, "Who are you? What do you want? I ain't done nothing." The silence remained, heavy, pressing. "Oh, please, no, I can pay you. Name your price. Anything, anything. Please, just let me live." The marked one finally spoke, cold and angry. "They told me to kill you. Why?" And then it came, ugly and broken. No, please, please. I didn't mean to do it. You understand me. She struggled." "She? Who and what did you do to her?" Rufio, in pure terror, replied, I told her to just stay still, but she wouldn't listen. After, my God, I had no choice. Please." A confession, torn not from guilt, but fear. And for the marked one, it was enough. The purpose returned, the doubts silenced. And the blade whispered through flesh without hesitation, a clean, well-skilled thrust. Rufio gurgled, twitched, then stilled, and in that stillness, clarity. The war within had ended, not in peace, but in purpose. The fire of justice he once carried as a sworn soldier of Uriel's septum had not vanished. It had been reborn in shadow. It was not honor that guided him now, but belonging. The dread father had claimed his due. A new brother had been born. Our brother, however, was quiet. No jubilation, no remorse, just silence. What now? He could not simply vanish into the night, not without drawing attention. Blood may wash from the blade, but not from the air. So he decided to wait. He returned to his room in silence. The inn below lay still, thick with slumber. No footsteps stirred, no voices rose. He closed the door gently behind him, unbuckled his armor, removed his boots, sat upon the edge of the straw mattress, and breathed. No voices came to haunt him, no regrets whispered in the corners of the room. He lay down, and sleep came swiftly. No dreams, no visions, just the void. And it was still dark when his eyes opened, but not by his own will. There was presence. The shadows moved differently now. The air held weight. The silence was no longer empty. It was watching. He sat up slowly and saw him. Lucien Lachance. The voice was silk over steel, calm, sure, inevitable. So, the deed is done. How do I know this? You will find that the Dark Brotherhood knows a great many things, for you are now part of the family. The brother, still in sleep paralysis, stayed silent. Heed this word. The slaying of Rufio was the signing of a covenant, the manner of execution, your signature. Rufio's blood, the ink. As a speaker of the Black Hand, I directly oversee a particular group of family members. You will join that group and fulfill any contracts given. You must now go to the city of Cheydinhal, to the abandoned house near the eastern wall. Enter the basement and attempt to open the black door. You will be asked a question. Answer thusly. Sanguine, my brother. You will gain entrance to the sanctuary. Once inside, speak with Ochiva. We must now take our leave of each other. I'll be following your progress. Welcome to the family. From beneath his cloak, Lucien produced a crude yet unmistakable token, a human finger wrapped in cloth and marked with the sign of the void. It will serve as proof of your initiation. Your brothers and sisters will welcome you. In time, you may even earn a place beside me. But for now, rest. Gather your strength. The path ahead is not short, and the shadows demand much. Lucien turned toward the door, then stopped, glancing back one final time. Brother, we shall meet again. And like breath in winter air, he was gone. The marked one remained seated for a long time, staring into the space where Lucien had stood. Then he looked to the window. The horizon was just beginning to bleed pale gold. Morning had come, but he no longer walked in the light. Our brother waited long enough. The small circle of the inn would stir soon, and with it, eyes and questions. It was time to leave. With calm precision, he rose from the bed. The armor was donned piece by piece, each buckle and strap tightened with quiet purpose. His boots, now clean of mud but not of memory, struck the floorboards with softened weight. The dagger, now clean and hided. As he stepped into the corridor, faint light from the hearth below reached the landing. The inn remained mostly still but not silent. A low sizzle, a faint clatter of pan on stone. He descended the stairs. In the small kitchen beyond the bar, Mannheim stood, humming tunelessly, turning eggs in a pan over the open flame. The smell was comforting, ordinary, and very much familiar. Warm butter, something to anchor the day before it could slip into something stranger. He looked up. His expression was as it had been before, open, plain, unaware. "Morning, stranger," Mannheim said with a yawn. "Didn't hear you come down. Sleep all right?" The marked one nodded. "Well, good. I've got some eggs going if you want a bite, or I can give you some remainings of the rat stew from yesterday. Still warm. Figured I'd feed old Rufio, but he's still sleeping like a stone." The marked one paused, a glance toward the pot by the hearth. "So that's how an inn like this could afford meat in such plenty," he whispered to himself. "Speak louder. What did you say?" Mannheim asked. "No, thank you, Mannheim. I'd travel faster with a lighter stomach." "Oh, heading off already?" "Yes," the marked one said. "Shame. You're quiet, but you got that soldier's walk. This place don't see many like you." He reached for a plate and began serving eggs onto it. "Safe travels, wherever you're headed. The green road's quiet this time of year, but still, watch for wolves." The marked one gave the slightest bow of his head, the closest he could come to gratitude. He turned. The door creaked open once more, and the morning took him off to Cheydinhall, where the Brotherhood waited.